Ready to dive into one of humanity's biggest questions?
Let's do it.
All right, today we're tackling the age-old mystery. Are we alone in the universe?
It's a question that has fascinated people for, well, probably as long as we've been looking up at the stars.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a twist this time. We're not going to be focusing on spaceships and, the typical alien stuff.
Right. We're going beyond the search for little green men.
Exactly. We're exploring the spiritual side of this question.
I like it. A different perspective.
Yeah, and to guide us on this deep dive, we're turning to a YouTube video.
Oh, interesting. What video is that?
It's called Are We Alone in the Universe? The Spiritual Answers You Need. And it's from the channel Quantum Wisdom.
Quantum Wisdom. Sounds intriguing.
Right. And it really is. The video starts off by, acknowledging that mind-boggling scale of the universe. We're talking billions upon billions of stars and planets.
It's almost impossible to grasp that kind of scale. Makes you feel pretty small, doesn't it?
It really does, and it makes you wonder, statistically speaking, what are the chances that Earth is the only planet with life in any form?
Right. Like out of all those billions of stars and planets, are we really the only ones having this conversation right now?
Exactly. And the video doesn't just stop at the probability of life existing elsewhere. It takes it a step further.
Oh, how so?
Well, they suggest we should be asking a bigger question, like how extraterrestrial life might fit into some kind of, grand cosmic design.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about finding life out there, but understanding its purpose, its role in the universe.
Exactly. It's about seeing extraterrestrial life not just as a scientific discovery, but as part of something much bigger, something more, spiritual.
And that's where things start to get really fascinating, don't they?
They really do. The video talks about this idea of a unifying creative force.
Okay, like a universal consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like what some people might call God or source or, universal consciousness, that kind of thing.
Right.
And the idea is that this force manifests in countless ways throughout the universe.
So not just physical beings like us, but maybe other forms of life, other expressions of consciousness.
Exactly. So we could be talking about extraterrestrial life existing as, beings of energy or light or even pure consciousness.
Whoa, beings of pure consciousness. That's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It really is. And it kind of challenges our usual idea of what life even means, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We tend to search for life that mirrors our own, carbon-based with recognizable features. But what if consciousness takes forms that we haven't even considered? What if it exists in dimensions beyond our current perception?
It's like we're trying to find a fish by looking for its footprints on land.
Exactly. We need to expand our thinking, broaden our definition of what we're even searching for.
And speaking of broadening our perspectives, the video takes us on a really fascinating journey through time.
A journey through time. Where are we going?
We're going to explore how ancient cultures envisioned extraterrestrial life way before telescopes and spaceships and all that.
Oh, that's interesting. So how did they see it?
Well, it's amazing how often ancient cultures wove stories of visitors from the stars into their beliefs and mythology.
Like they weren't afraid of the idea. They embraced it.
It seems that way. Take the Hopi people, for example, and their Katinas.
The Kakinas, right. Those spiritual beings, the ones that they believed came down from the stars.
That's them. The Hopi saw them as intermediaries between the human world and the spirit world.
Guides, teachers, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And they didn't view these beings as invaders or threats, but as benevolent guides.
That's a really different perspective from the way we tend to see aliens in, say, movies and stuff.
It really is. And it's not just the Hopi. We see similar stories in other cultures, too. Like the Australian Aboriginal Wandjina. Have you heard of them?
The Wandjina? Ring a bell? Remind me.
Powerful sky beings who, according to their tradition, created the land and all its creatures.
Oh, right. And they continue to influence their spirituality and culture even today, right?
They do. It's pretty amazing.
It is. There seems to be this common thread, this idea that extraterrestrial beings aren't something to be feared, but something to be revered, even respected.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of reverence there, for sure. A sense of connection, maybe even. Which makes you wonder, has our modern perspective, with all the alien invasion stories and stuff, has that maybe skewed our perception a bit?
That's a good question. Maybe we've projected our own fears onto these beings.
It's possible, right? And it makes you wonder what we might be missing out on because of that fear.
Yeah, good point. So, What else does this video talk about?
Well, they don't just focus on indigenous traditions, they also delve into ancient texts that seem to hint at otherworldly encounters.
Oh, interesting. Like what kind of text?
Well, for example, the Hindu scriptures describe these flying chariots called vimanas, which the gods use to travel across the skies.
The Vimanas? Yeah, those are pretty wild. Could those be early interpretations of advanced technology? Or maybe actual encounters with beings from beyond Earth, just explained using the framework people had at the time?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? And then you have the Sumerian tales of the Anunnaki, those beings from the heavens who supposedly interacted with humanity.
Right, the Anunnaki. Their stories are pretty fascinating.
They are. And it's interesting that whether you interpret these stories literally or symbolically, there's this undeniable fascination with extraterrestrial life that seems to stretch back for millennia. It makes you wonder if there's something more to it than just idle curiosity.
Absolutely. It speaks to a deep-seated intuition, perhaps, that we're not alone in the universe and that there's more to existence than what we can currently perceive.
Yeah, it's like this universal question that's woven into the very fabric of our collective consciousness. And it's not just ancient history either. That fascination continues today, just maybe in a more modern form.
Right. Like all those UFO sightings and alien encounters people report, it's still a big part of our culture.
It is. And while there's always going to be skeptic, and that's fine, the video focuses on those who claim to have had these experiences and the profound spiritual transformations they describe.
They talk about more than just seeing strange lights in the sky, right? Like,
yes,
they describe a deep personal change.
Exactly. Many experiencers talk about feeling deeply changed by these encounters, like they've experienced a sense of unity with the universe and have found a renewed purpose in life.
Almost like a spiritual awakening sparked by these encounters.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And what's really interesting is that these awakenings, they often seem to center around certain themes, things like spiritual growth, environmentalism, promoting peace.
Wow, it makes you wonder if there's a connection there, like these encounters are nudging us towards a greater understanding of our place in the cosmos and, our responsibility to each other and the planet.
That's a really interesting thought, isn't it?
It is. But it also kind of raises a question. If these encounters can be so transformative, so positive, why is there so much fear surrounding the idea of extraterrestrials? Like all those alien invasion movies and stories.
Yeah, it's a good question. Why do we jump to that fear response instead of embracing the potential for something, good? Like, is that just a natural human reaction to the unknown?
Could be. But the video offers another perspective. It suggests that maybe our fear of extraterrestrials is actually a reflection of our own insecurities and, fear of the unknown.
So instead of seeing them as they might really be, we project our own anxieties and fears onto them.
It's definitely a possibility. And remember, a lot of spiritual traditions teach that fear is often the ego's response to change.
Right. So by letting go of that fear, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, like actually learning from these other intelligences.
It's like we're building these walls of fear that prevent us from truly connecting with the universe and all its wonders.
And if we want to be ready for contact, maybe the first step is to look inward and confront those internal barriers, those deep-seated fears that hold us back.
It's about shifting our perspective, moving from fear and separation to a place of openness, curiosity, and, interconnect.
And speaking of interconnectedness, that brings us to one of the core spiritual concepts the video explores, the idea of oneness.
Ah, yes, oneness, that idea that we're all connected, all part of a larger whole. It's a concept that pops up in so many different spiritual traditions.
It does, and it seems particularly relevant when we're talking about extraterrestrial life, don't you think?
I agree. And the video uses this really beautiful analogy to explain this concept. Imagine a web scanning the entire universe.
A web.
Yeah, like a cosmic web. And each being is a single thread in this incredibly intricate design.
Wow, I like that. It really helps to visualize the idea of interconnectedness. So if we're all part of this web, could there be forms of life out there that we just can't perceive, beyond our current understanding? That's a question that really pushes the boundaries of our imagination, doesn't it? The video suggests that there might be that extraterrestrial beings could exist as things we just can't perceive. Maybe as beings of light or energy operating in dimensions we just don't have access.
Okay, now that is mind-blowing. Like, what else are we missing? What other possibilities are out there beyond our limited understanding?
It's a humbling thought for sure. And if we can accept this idea of interconnect, this idea that we're all part of this web, does it then follow that we're part of something even bigger, like a galactic family?
A galactic family. Now we're getting into some really interesting territory.
We are. What if we're not just these random specks of life scattered throughout the universe, but part of a vast network of interconnected civilizations?
Wow. It's like we're just starting to grasp our place in this grand cosmic tapestry. But if there are all these advanced civilizations out there, what does that mean for us?
Exactly. Are they watching us? Are they waiting for us to evolve?
Those are the big questions, aren't they? And the video actually suggests that these more advanced civilizations might be waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of spiritual maturity before making open contact.
So they're not avoiding us. They're just waiting for us to kind of grow up cosmically.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And their goal wouldn't be, domination or exploitation, but guidance and support, helping us along our evolutionary path.
It's a pretty hopeful perspective, isn't it?
It is, but it also raises some really important questions. What does it mean to be spiritually mature on a cosmic scale? Are we even close?
Those are questions we're going to have to explore further in our next segment.
I'm ready for it.
Me too. But for now, I think we need to take a moment to let all this information sink in.
It is a lot to process. From the vastness of the universe to these ancient tales of star beings to the idea of a galactic family waiting for us to join them.
It's quite a journey, but before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What if the real journey isn't about searching for life out there among the stars, but about discovering the vast universe that exists within each of us?
That's a great question to leave them with. A lot to think about.
There is. We'll be back soon to delve deeper into these spiritual perspectives and what they mean for our understanding of extraterrestrial life and ourselves. Wow, that last segment really got me thinking. It's amazing to consider how deeply the idea of extraterrestrial life is woven into human spirituality.
It is fascinating. It really makes you realize how fundamental this question, are we alone, is to us. It goes so much deeper than just science, It touches on how we see ourselves, our place in the whole universe.
You're right, and we've seen so many different ways that question plays out, ancient myths and stories, those modern UFO sightings people talk about, and even those profound spiritual experiences some people describe.
Yeah. And there's this common thread running through all of it, this shift away from feeling isolated and afraid towards a feeling of being connected, of belonging to something much, much bigger.
That sense of belonging, yeah, it's powerful. It reminds me of that idea we touched on before, the galactic family. I know it might sound a bit far out, but it's such a compelling thought, right? What if we're not just stuck here on this tiny planet, but part of this huge network of civilizations spanning the universe?
That's a question that's been around for ages. Philosophers, spiritual teachers, they've all wrestled with it. And this video, Are We Alone in the Universe? The Spiritual Answers You Need, it suggests that maybe these advanced civilizations, they're out there, but they're waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of, spiritual maturity before they make open contact.
So it's like they're giving us the space to figure things out, to learn from our mistakes, to evolve at our own pace, and eventually reach a point where we're ready to join the galactic party. But what does that even mean, spiritually mature on a cosmic level? It's not like there's a guidebook for this.
That's where it gets really interesting, I think, because it forces us to look inward. It's about examining our own values, our beliefs, our actions. Are we as a species truly prioritizing things like peace, cooperation, compassion? Or are we still driven by those baser instincts like fear, greed, the desire to dominate others?
Tough questions, for sure. And to be honest, I think humanity's record is, kind of mixed, right? We're capable of incredible acts of kindness and selflessness, but also there's a lot of conflict, violence, exploitation.
It's true. And that struggle, that duality between our best and worst impulses, that's something a lot of spiritual traditions try to address. The video touches on that too, with that idea of raising our vibration through things like meditation, mindfulness, compassion.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that phrase, raising your vibration, but I've never really understood it. What does that actually mean?
Well, think of it like this. In a lot of spiritual traditions, vibration refers to this energy we each give off, which is affected by our thoughts, our emotions, our actions. Positive things, they create a higher vibration. Negative stuff, it brings it down. So raising our vibration, it's about cultivating those qualities that align us with our highest potential: love, compassion, kindness, understanding, all those good things.
So we're kind of tuning ourselves to a different frequency, one that's more in harmony with the universe, maybe even with those other beings out there. Makes me wonder if we could collectively raise our vibration as a species. Would that make us more, receptive to connecting with these advanced civilizations?
That's a really intriguing question. And honestly, I don't think anyone has a definitive answer, but it does suggest that maybe our readiness for contact isn't just about technology. Maybe it's also about a shift in consciousness, a collective evolution of our hearts and minds.
Which brings us back to that idea of free will, something the video talked about. If these advanced beings are out there and they respect free will, then maybe they're waiting for us to consciously choose to connect. It's not just about them reaching out, it's about us opening ourselves to that possibility.
It's about choosing to evolve, to expand our awareness, to become the kind of species that's ready to embrace the immensity of the cosmos and all it might hold.
That's powerful. It means we have a real role to play in this. We can't just sit around waiting for them to show up, you know? We have to take an active part in shaping our own destiny. But okay, let's say we do manage to extend that invitation, that we choose openness and connection. What would that contact even look like? How would it change our world?
Well, those are the questions that have fueled countless science fiction stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while we can only speculate, the video suggests that contact with extraterrestrial life, it could radically change our understanding of reality itself.
That makes sense. So much of our understanding of the world is based on what we can observe and measure, right? But what if there are entire realms of existence beyond our perception? What if these beings have knowledge and wisdom that challenges everything we thought we knew about the universe, about our place in it?
It could be a total paradigm shift, something unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. Imagine having to rethink our most basic beliefs about life, consciousness, creation. It would be exhilarating, sure, but also probably incredibly challenging, maybe even a bit scary.
It'd be like suddenly realizing the world isn't flat, but round, or that the Earth revolves around the sun, not the other way around. Those were huge discoveries that changed how we see ourselves, our place in the universe. And contact with extraterrestrial life, well, that could be even bigger.
For sure. And it's not just about understanding things intellectually. The video also talks about how contact could impact us on an emotional and spiritual level. It could lead to a surge in unity and cooperation, as we realize we're not alone in the universe.
I can see that. Imagine the shared wonder of encountering another intelligent species, the realization that we're all part of something much bigger. It could help us get past those petty differences that cause so much conflict here on Earth.
Exactly. Imagine the potential for learning and growth. What if these beings have achieved a level of consciousness and wisdom we can't even imagine? What if they could offer guidance, support, help us face the challenges we're struggling with? What if they could help us unlock our full potential and create a more peaceful, just, sustainable world?
The possibilities are mind-blowing, for sure, but there's still a part of me that wonders, are we really ready for this? We're still struggling with so much conflict and division here on Earth. Are we mature enough to interact with a more advanced civilization without falling back into those same patterns of exploitation and domination?
It's a valid concern, and I think it's something we need to think about carefully. The video acknowledges that contact, even if it's benevolent, is likely to be really challenging. But it also emphasizes that we have a choice in how we respond. We can choose to embrace the unknown with curiosity and openness, or we can retreat into fear and resistance.
So it's not just about whether extraterrestrial life exists, it's about how we choose to engage with that possibility. We have agency. We have the power to shape our own destiny, to decide what kind of future we want. That's a powerful message, even if we never make contact with another civilization.
It is. At the end of the day, the search for extraterrestrial life is a journey inward as much as it is outward. It's about exploring our own consciousness, expanding our awareness, and discovering our true potential as individuals and as a species.
And maybe the most profound encounter we can have is the encounter with ourselves, with that vast and mysterious universe within.
Perhaps that's where the real journey begins. Not out there among the stars, but right here, inside our own hearts and minds.
This conversation has been so thought-provoking, and I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this huge, mysterious topic.
We have, but hopefully this deep dive has piqued your curiosity and encouraged you to keep exploring these questions. Maybe we can leave our listeners with one final question to ponder, something to take with them on their own journey.
I like that idea. How about this? If you could have a conversation with a being from another world, what would you ask them? And what would you want to share about humanity, about our experiences here on Earth?
That's a great question. And I think it might reveal a lot about ourselves, more than we realize.
Exactly. It's like stepping into the role of an ambassador for humanity, thinking about what truly matters to us, what we want to contribute to this larger cosmic conversation.
It reminds us that we're not just passive observers in this grand cosmic drama. We're active participants with the power to shape our own destiny, maybe even influence what happens beyond our planet.
That's a pretty empowering thought, right? It shifts the focus away from fear and uncertainty and towards those possibilities, that potential for growth, for connection, even a sense of belonging on a cosmic scale.
I agree. And that feeling of belonging, that sense of connection to something far greater than ourselves, maybe that's the key to unlocking our true potential as a species.
Like we're all threads in this vast cosmic tap, each one unique and essential to the overall design. And maybe, just maybe, the search for extraterrestrial life is just a way of reminding us of that connection, our place in this grand scheme of.
It's a beautiful way to look at it. It speaks to how these spiritual perspectives can help us make sense of our place in the universe and inspire us to live more meaningful lives.
Well said. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, and I'm sure our listeners have plenty to think about. But before we wrap things up, I want to share a quote that really stuck with me from that Quantum Wisdom video. It's by the poet Rumi, and it goes like, "You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life?
That's a powerful quote, and so fitting for our conversation today.
It really is, right? It reminds us that we're capable of so much more than we often realize. We have this incredible potential for growth, for connection, for transcendence, and maybe the search for extraterrestrial life is just a way of rediscovering those wings, of remembering our ability to soar beyond the limits of what we currently understand.
It's a beautiful analogy. And it speaks to the power of these spiritual perspectives to inspire us, to push us to reach for the stars, both literally and metaphorically.
And who knows, maybe in reaching for those stars, we'll discover that we're not alone after all. Maybe the universe is teeming with life and consciousness, and we're part of something far grander and more magnificent than we ever imagined.
It's a possibility worth contemplating, for sure. And even if we never make contact with another civilization, the journey itself can be transformative. It can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, our place in the universe, and the infinite possibilities that lie ahead.
Well said. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive for today. I hope you've enjoyed exploring these ideas with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And to our listeners, keep those minds open, stay curious, and never stop looking up at the stars. The universe is full of wonder, and the greatest discoveries might be waiting just beyond the horizon of our current understanding. Until next time, take care.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the spiritual side of extraterrestrial life. We've covered a lot of ground, from the sheer scale of the cosmos to ancient stories about beings from the stars. We've explored modern-day encounters and that intriguing idea of a galactic family. And we even touched on, the idea of raising our vibration to connect with other forms of consciousness.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? And throughout our exploration, we keep coming back to this question of readiness. Are we truly ready for contact? Are we ready for what might come with encountering a more advanced civilization? The knowledge, the responsibility, all of that. You're so right. And listening to everything we've discussed, I'm starting to think that maybe the question isn't just, are we ready? But what does readiness actually look like? What are we even aiming for here? Is it about, having super advanced technology, or maybe reaching some perfect level of social or political harmony? Or is it something deeper, something more internal?
I think that's the key question. And, this YouTube video, Are We Alone in the Universe? The Spiritual Answers You Need. It points towards a much more nuanced idea of readiness. It's not about checking boxes on some kind of cosmic to-do list. It's about cultivating a certain way of being, a way of being in the world.
Earlier, we were talking about shifting our perspective, moving away from fear and separation and towards openness and a sense of interconnectedness. Could that be a big part of what it means to be ready?
Absolutely. Remember that quote from Rumi that the video shared? You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life? What if encountering extraterrestrial life is about remembering those wings we have, about realizing our potential for expansion, for connection, for transcendence?
That's such a powerful image. It's not about waiting around for someone to rescue us or enlighten us, It's about realizing the vastness that exists within each of us and then having the courage to explore it. But, if we're talking about embracing the unknown, venturing beyond what's familiar, it's only natural to feel some apprehension, right? I mean, we're wired for survival. Fear is a part of being human.
Of course. Fear is a natural response to the unknown. It's what helped keep our ancestors safe. Help them survive in a dangerous world. But fear can also hold us back, prevent us from exploring new possibilities, from reaching our full potential.
So how do we move past that fear? How do we cultivate the courage to embrace the unknown, especially when it comes to something as potentially life-changing as contact with extraterrestrials?
Well, the video suggests that certain spiritual practices can be incredibly helpful in this process, like meditation, for it. It can help us become more aware of our thoughts and emotions, even the ones rooted in fear.
So by becoming more aware of those fears, we can start to, detach from them a little bit, to see them as just thoughts and feelings, not these absolute truths that control us or limit what we do.
Exactly. And practices like mindfulness, they can help us cultivate a sense of presence, of groundedness, which would be so helpful when we're dealing with uncertainty and change. And remember, we were talking about raising our vibration earlier.
Yeah, cultivating those qualities like love, compassion, understand.
Right. Engaging in those practices, it not only helps us feel more connected and aligned internally, but it might also help us resonate with, the higher frequencies of the universe. Maybe even make us more open to connecting with other forms of consciousness. It's about creating an inner environment of peace, of harmony, of receptivity.
It's like we're sending out a signal, not through any technology, but through our very energy. We're saying, hey, we're here, we're open, we're ready to connect.
Exactly. I love that way of putting it. But okay, let's imagine for a moment that this signal is received, that contact is made. What could that look like? How could it transform our world? I mean, the possibilities are just Wow, they're mind-boggling.
I know, right? We could gain access to technologies that solve some of our biggest problems, like climate change, disease, poverty. We could gain insights into the nature of consciousness, the universe, all of that. But I also think about the potential challenge, the disruption to our societies, our belief systems, even our sense of identity.
Those are all valid points.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that contact, even if it's totally benevolent, is probably going to be really challenging.
Imagine having to rethink our whole understanding of history, of science, religion, even the meaning of life itself. It would be overwhelming, but it could also be an incredible opportunity for growth, for evolution, both personally and as a species.
Absolutely. It could be the catalyst that pushes us into a whole new era. An era of understanding and cooperation, where we finally transcend our differences and embrace our shared humanity, our connection to something much greater than ourselves.
That's a beautiful vision, a future where we've moved past those old patterns of fear, greed, conflict, a future where we embrace our interconnectedness and work together to create a more peaceful, just, sustainable world. And honestly, I think that's a future worth striving for, regardless of whether we ever actually encounter extraterrestrial life. The search itself, the exploration of these possibilities, it can be transformative. It can help us reevaluate our priorities, connect with our values, reimagine what's possible for humanity.
That's beautifully said. I think that's the core message of this whole deep dive. The search for extraterrestrial life isn't just about looking outward, it's about looking inward. It's about exploring that vast universe that exists within each of us, about rediscovering those wings and remembering that we can soar to heights we never even imagined.
So, as we wrap up our exploration, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. What if the real encounter, the most profound transformation, happens not when we meet beings from another world, but when we truly meet ourselves, when we embrace our full potential, our interconnectedness, our capacity for love, for compassion, for one.
That's a beautiful message to end on. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been a pleasure. And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep reaching for the stars. You're part of something vast and beautiful, a cosmic tapestry woven together by threads of consciousness, of connection, and infinite possibility.